Okay, meeting is now streaming live on Facebook, so we are up and running. So what's going on today, sir?
Same old same with me. What's happening with you? It's good to see you back on the platform.
Oh man, I'm really excited to be back. It feels like it's been a year. At least it was last year, last time I was here. Most definitely
Mm.
excited to be back. Looking forward to getting into some topics today. But before we get started, man, it's January the 10th already. Sunday here, another edition of Soapbox Sundays with myself, Cool C Dublin, and my man Dan in the house. And as we said, we're really excited to be back online here doing what we do. We really miss you guys, and thank you for your patience. And if you're watching us, thank you for continuing to follow. But before we get into any of the topics today, Dan, tell the people how they can get in touch with us. A little bit about who
Oh,
we are.
yeah, we are Athena Protection Service, and we believe in everybody being safe, and we believe in looking out for people who can't look out for themselves. That's the heart of where we come from. You can reach out to us on any social media platform at Athena Protection Service, or you can give us a call on our 800 number at 800-951-4861, 800-951-4866.
Awesome. Man, so with the new year, I mean, we literally 10 days in, a lot of things are going on. Um, but you know what, before we get into that, because, this is a topic that's true and dear to my heart, it should be everybody's, COVID. COVID, just because the date on the calendar changed, the virus doesn't really look at time and dates and things of that nature. So are you ready for an update to let us know how we're doing here in the great state of Michigan with the virus?
We still doing bad. We got over 500,000 confirmed cases, and our daily case count is at about 2,700, and we got over 220 people dying per day from COVID.
Wow, those are some big numbers. Um, we can talk about this for a little bit before we get into our topics today with the COVID
Mhm.
numbers. And I'm not just going to go down the same normal path and talk about how, it's important that we wash our hands. And I think everybody know that. They've heard it enough times. Um, I think people understand the realization of it as we, unfortunately just lost Benny Napoleon, a guy who, as long as I can remember, has been a part of the city of Detroit, either with the DPD or the sheriff's department. Most recently, we saw
Mhm.
him, lose his life to COVID, as well as I'm sure some of our listeners have personal friends and family that they've lost just last year as they reflect back on the year and talked about some of the people who lost their battle with it. And just the most recent, and I won't try to go through the whole list, but just talking about in the last 30 days or so, we lost some, all of us Friday fans, we lost Debo, and I didn't confirm, but I'm pretty sure I heard it
Mhm.
was due to COVID, as well as again I mentioned Benny Napoleon, which was local here. Everybody in Metro Detroit knows the name, and many others that have lost their lives to it. So we know it's a serious thing. We can say that.
Mhm. Right.
I just think that at this point, as tough as it is, because we get caught up, and we're going to talk about the new year a little bit in here, is we get caught up in the date of it being January, and now technically it's a new year. But when you read those COVID numbers, it's the same old thing. It's like I said,
Right.
there's no calendar to COVID. The numbers seem to be consistently high, and I think they'll probably be a little bit higher as we start seeing the results of people gathering for the holidays. And just my perspective on it is, I think with the technology that we have, things that people say that is traditional. I
Mhm.
want to go to my mama's house and get her cooking on Christmas or on Thanksgiving. Those are things that people, that's family, and that's what the holidays mean to them, and all of those things. And, I think we really need to not be so selfish in the sense of we're going to do that in spite of being safe for yourselves and for your mama that you want to go and get cooking on those holidays. I think we need to really, continue to educate ourselves. The vaccine is out. We'll talk about that at some point. I don't know if we'll get into it today because that's a topic within itself. But just really got to say, folks, take it serious. And the best thing you can do to help this, and I know I'm preaching to the choir to a lot of the listeners on here, is wear the mask and continue to do the social distancing. As much as we like to get back to partying and having a house full of people hanging out with us, or being a part of those type of things, we can't do it. It's changed for me to when I have somebody that I miss and want to catch up on, we plan a FaceTime for one another. And yes, it's not the same as touching and being there live, but it's better than nothing.
Right.
We do have the technology, and if you don't have a smartphone that is capable of doing it, I think you can do it on some of the social media platforms. But they don't pay me, so I'm not going to go into those details. But just think about other ways of enjoying and communicating with people, as opposed to going to gatherings. If it's not a major necessity, and hanging out for somebody's birthday is is as cruel as this gonna sound, is not worth it. It's just not.
Mm-hmm.
So, don't get caught up in just because the calendar changed, the COVID just all of a sudden is gonna take a break. Yes, that was what I wanted to get across.
Yeah.
Sorry for taking so long. I'm just so happy to be back. So
That's all
y'all
right.
know how I do out there.
Yeah, it's all right. It's
So what you
good.
got going
It's
on
good,
today,
man. I
sir?
think uh, you know, same old with me, just working, keeping it, easy, keeping myself as safe as I can be. But
Absolutely.
everybody, I think, people still not gonna take things serious. So it's just gonna be an uphill battle moving forward. So, it's just gonna be important for people to stay safe as they can and to keep distancing and doing the necessary things that need to be done
Right.
so that we can continue to be safe.
Absolutely.
A lot of people in the comments are giving you well wishes and saying hey and that they're glad to see you.
I know. As I said again, happy to be back. Excited do what we do. It's um, it's good to be able to share your opinion and get other people's opinion on this type of platform. Because even this, I
Mm-hmm.
think, and this is a general statement without getting into details. I think people take even this for granted when you want to say and display things on here publicly that you
Mm-hmm.
run the risk of them saying, "Hey, no, you can't do that." These social
Right.
media sites are not government property, or at least as far as I know, without getting into a bunch of political aspects of it. But the people who run these platforms have a right to, censor it and things of that nature. And too many times, I think we get caught up in what we think is owed to us, and we seen that in a great display this past week, and we'll roll into that here momentarily. But just to finish my thought, really have to appreciate and understand what you should and shouldn't be trying to use these platforms for, um,
Mm-hmm.
and your thoughts on that.
On what you should use a platform for.
I mean, not so much what you should use it for, but I think people have this ideology that I could say and do whatever I want. There's freedom of speech and this, that, and the other. It's like, publicly, yes, if you want to stand on the corner and say whatever you want to say, yes, but I think that freedom of speech, it gets cloudy when you use, i.e., a platform like we're using, for example, Facebook. You can't just say everything and do everything you want on there because some of those things may
Um,
be looked at differently by people with different views.
I think it's good to just roll at the end. So, you know, as everybody know, the president was banned on uh, Facebook, Twitter, like permanently banned on some of these platforms because of the things that he was saying, which incited some violence at the Capitol. Um, Now, my stance on freedom of speech is you can say whatever you want to say at the risk of whatever consequences may come your way after you say it. So, I mean, people are free to speak as they wish. These are private companies. And when you sign up for Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or whatever the case may be, you agree to abide by their rules. And if you break
Right.
what they feel like are their rules, then they can kick you off their platform. That's just how it is. Now, can they do that? Hell yeah, they can do that. But should they? That's where we come into debate. That's where the question is at hand. Should they be censoring people who want to say whatever it is they want to say? We saw the minister Louis Farrakhan censored not long ago on YouTube because people didn't like what he had to say, and his page was actually taken down. So silence there, but now there's a bunch of uproar because the president got his page taken, and he was, you know, saying shit that he shouldn't have been saying, and inciting people to do things they had no business doing. So Facebook, you know, took the stance of you doing something about it. Now, did they do it because they thought it was the right thing? You know, did they do it because it's a Democratic majority in the House and Senate, and the oversight will be on them upcoming, and they trying to ease some of that tension? I don't know, but you know what I do know is that it happened. So, in president or not, if you're doing something that they feel is unsafe for people, then they have every right to take action against that. But
Right.
should they? Then that's we can publicly debate about what they should do all we want to. Conservative, I know a lot of conservatives feel like they're censored more than liberal people are censored. Um, but from what I've seen over the last year, most of the stuff they say and do have been found to be false or have been found, you know, just to be misleading or flat out lies. And then that's why those things or they're in the realm of conspiracy or not necessarily true. And that's why those things have been getting censored and removed. Um, that's not my decision to make. I don't have, I guess, an opinion one way or the other. I think in the name of an election, um, I don't think people should be able to post misleading things. I don't think people should be able to post things that are not true. Um, that's a problem for me in election time, and that's where they saw most of their censorship was during the election, being about election-related things and trying to influence an election, which is probably a separate topic altogether when we talk about censoring what people have to say. Um,
Okay.
that's I guess that's just my take.
Right. And I appreciate
Hold on,
that.
I got a question. Why do I think what music is censored? Candace, I don't know what she mean by that.
I think she probably said we know that music is censored, or I'll give her a chance to answer that. While I give you this follow up question. So we talk about something like that, the censorship and how these platforms can utilize the ability to do that. How do you said when it comes to political things, um, we've seen it also when it comes to threats and things of that nature. You can't use these platforms to threaten safety, to an individual or to a whole group. So, and I shouldn't say a question, just more so of a statement.
Mm.
With that being said, I think people really think these platforms owe them the right to put their opinion on here, and they don't. They
Yeah.
don't owe us a right to do that. And it's funny because I went back and looked at the terms of, you know, being on Facebook and looked at the terms of being on some of the other social platforms. And that's exactly what you said. They had a right to not afford you to be on their platform.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's kind of like Megan Thee Stallion not reading her contract when she got into the entertainment industry, and now she's not happy with, you know, how the money is flowing. I know y'all been expecting to hear
I
Megan
mean,
Thee Stallion coming out of my mouth today, but anybody know
I
her
mean,
story?
it's the same thing. Think about this. Donald Sterling, right? Freedom of speech. He can say what he want to say, but he broke the rules of the NBA. You know, when he violated the association's policy, they removed his team from him. Same thing. You know, you can say what you want to say, but those things have consequences. Just if you on Facebook posting something crazy and your job see it, they have social media policies at work. So I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's your Facebook page, and you can put whatever you want on it. But if it ain't in line with the opinion and views of the company that you work for, you can be fired.
Great point. So let's move on. Uh, like I said, we just got into a new year and want to get your take. First of all, you know, as the new year comes in, everybody does what? New Year resolution. So
That
I
is
want
true.
to just talk about resolutions for a minute. First of all, do you ever do any New Year's resolutions specifically
I,
yourself?
I do. I do. It's
You mind sharing
a
something?
lot of yeah. I could share a lot of times. Generally I make decisions and I act on them, and I don't wait until the new year. But this year in particular, I was thinking about, you know, just my dreams and, you know, what I want and things I want to accomplish. And
Okay.
so I kind of broke things down into 12 weeks at a time. So based on this book I read called The 12-Week Year. So I'll take, you know, a couple of items, you know, that I want to get done. And, you know, instead of having it a year long, I just break it off into 12 weeks and how, and, you
Okay.
know, the most important things that I want to tackle so that I pinpoint I want to do. So that way I can focus my attention on what's important, and then I got a short time frame in order to get it done.
That's
So
awesome.
that's how I laid it out. But as far as my overall goals, um, yeah, I got stretch goals that are for the year, and those goals will break out in increments of the 12 weeks that I talked about and how I want to reach those things. And then also, and not only in making a resolution, I got a little bit deeper in trying to understand why that I picked this particular thing as a resolution.
Okay.
Um, the why part of what we want to do, I think, is one of the most important things that we can figure out. And just getting a little bit deep into it. So let's say, you know, a lot of people have weight loss goals. And let's say I want to lose 30 pounds. Well, why do I want to lose 30 pounds? Well, it'll make me feel better, you know, and it'll make me look better if that's my opinion. Well, why would it make me feel better? Because if I lost weight, then I would move around and I would be able to do things a hell of a lot easier. I wouldn't get as tired as fast, which means I need to eat better, which means I need to sleep better. So when I start thinking about my overall health, I now have other things that come into play that I need to put into that toolbox in order to get that accomplished. So, you know, I need in bed by a certain time. I need to get up at a certain time. I need to work out at a certain days of the week and stick in order to stick with that and negotiate with yourself. Once you make the plan, everything is non-negotiable. If you said you're getting up at 5 o'clock on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, then there is no negotiation. There is no more 30 minutes. There is none of that. You know, just get up and do what you said you was going to do in order to get to where you need to be.
I just want to interrupt for a second. You said something that really simplifies this because I know people are going to listen to this and think you're getting really deep. But you said something that was really key to this when you talk about a resolution, and you said you got to ask yourself why. And you can't just do it one time. And you did a great job of breaking down that. Okay, you want to lose weight. So I asked you, what's your New Year's resolution? I want to lose weight. Well, why do you want to lose weight?
Mm-hmm.
And then you said, because I want to look better in my clothes. Well, why do you want to look better in your clothes? And then we really got deep. And at some point, you finally said, well, because I want to be healthier. And we all know,
Mm-hmm.
especially after coming through what we've been through in 2020 and what it did to a lot of us, health wise, as we call it, people jokingly talk about the freshman 15 that you get when you go off to college and you leave home, and or the sophomore, whenever you gain weight in college. Somebody can correct me on that.
Mm-hmm.
But I know for a fact we got the COVID 30 now that we talk about. People being not as mobile as they were before and not being able to go and work out, not being able to do things the way they normally did them during this pandemic, have gained a ton of weight. So a great point that you just brought up for people who are thinking about that, because we know that's probably one of the biggest New Year's resolutions is usually something physical
Mm-hmm.
or pertaining to your body and hopefully your mind and your soul. But we hear it a lot, gyms, this is probably the most profitable time. This is their Black Friday, whereas retail is,
Right.
the day after Thanksgiving. I think for the fitness industry is January, the month of January is it's a big month for them. But I like the way you put people in the mindset of you got to dig a little deeper, and this is not just for a New Year's resolution. This is in general when you're trying to do something. I know you talked about it after reading the book with the 12 steps, or I'm sorry, the 12-week
Mm-hmm.
process. Everything's 12 weeks, 12 steps, 12 weeks. Those things have a reason behind them, uh, and I'm sure you could get into that if we needed you to. But just some great
Right.
ways for those of you out there that are looking for resolutions, uh, challenging yourself to ask yourself why, and keep asking yourself why on that same topic as many times as you
Mm-hmm.
can. How deep can you really get
'Cause-
on what it is you're trying to accomplish? And you'll be
Right.
amazed, because the more you understand why you're trying to do what you think you're in the mood to change, it'll probably be a little more beneficial in helping you actually achieve it if you dig a little deep. Because if I just say I want to lose weight, starting, and
Mm-hmm.
you know how we did. January 1st was on a Friday,
Right.
so I'm sure there's many of the
Right.
people out there whose resolutions was, well, I already was off from Christmas from the job. I don't go back until the 4th, so I'm not gonna start on the 1st. I'm gonna start on the 4th. You already played yourself if you did that. But guess what?
Right.
There is no rules in this game of life. You learn and you continue on. It's the 10th. Start today, or if you want to start tomorrow on the 11th, we're not the judge and the jury. But just know that you already played yourself if you said you was gonna still go ahead and thug it out the first, second, and the third, and you was gonna get serious on the 4th. You already pump faking, and you're not gonna make it because you don't have a true plan. Ask yourself those additional whys.
Yeah. I
Uh,
think once you, yeah, I think once you get the emotional and psychological connection to why you selected that particular goal, and it'll help most to get over that hump and to stick to what you're trying to do.
But this is a gate. This is a excuse me. This is a great process for even financial goals, and all of these things is not just about a
Mm-hmm.
resolution. If you were to, the pandemic really made people think about their choice of employment or how they make money.
Mm-hmm.
Some people got really creative and started, their own businesses this past year during the pandemic, which is
Mm-hmm.
awesome. I wrote something down. I'm gonna read that in a minute. But I think people, found out that being away from the environment of maybe their employer and the way things were ran in that office or that factory or whatever, they really questioned it, like, is this really my true calling?
Mm-hmm.
and people are, you know, changing their thought process. You know, we talked about, you know, it was important that you worked at one job for as long as you could in the past, whether you liked it or not. That's just what you were supposed to do, whether you made the money you need to make or not. You just worked there forever, and that makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. And any friends and family that know me know that I will not stay someplace if it's not beneficial to me in numerous ways. So, you know, this resolution, you know, just to finish up on that topic, um, you got to dig a little deeper, you know, and this is the time to do it while you still, you know, if you're still fortunate enough to be working from home, or, you know, things that have changed for you since the pandemic and haven't went to back to the normal before this. Again, you surviving this, you know, take that extra time and ask those additional whys. If you can squeeze 2 to 3 more whys out of why you're doing what it is that you want to do or you think you want to do, I think you'll be amazed at how much better and successful you will be at accomplishing these goals.
And have an accountability partner. That's important.
Man, like you said,
That,
you
yeah,
said you're gonna do it.
yeah.
Do
Somebody that know what you want to do. Make sure there's somebody checking in to make sure you're on track regularly.
it. And if you don't have somebody that you feel comfortable with that, or think that that's, you know, because of course people in relationships, you immediately say, well, I'm gonna go to my partner, and I can tell you that that can be a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
Because even though the intentions are good, we as human beings, we don't do well with criticism from others. We tend to take offense to it, and that's always been a challenge. You know, talking about making a resolution, let that be one of them. Do a better job of accepting constructive feedback. Because when you say
Right.
criticism, I think the word, you know, comes across negative, but it's really just constructive feedback. Hey, you know, it'll really be important for you to show up to work on time.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, if you can't show up on work on time, we're gonna let you go. that's not that's not criticism. That's constructive feedback. If you just want to stay
Right.
working here, you got to get here on time and stop calling off every
Right.
payday. That's a whole nother topic. But most definitely, the resolutions, people, uh, challenge yourself. And like I say, be hard on yourself. You're already mentally hard on yourself. You doubt everything else. And I just wrote this down. I was gonna save it for later, but it's a great time for me to just segue into this. And I actually even posted on one of my social medias. But it said, I just basically saw this, and it says, stop talking yourself out of opportunities because you don't feel like you're ready yet. It's time, and you're
Mm-hmm.
ready. So basically, there are people who, again, started up businesses during this pandemic, regardless of what it was. It could have been your T-shirt line. It could have been, you know, your passion to cook or do art or whatever it is that, you know, you found a way to hustle out there, you know, doing food deliveries, whatever it is that you stepped out there and did because you had, sure, some of it had to do with, you know, maybe finances for people who were able to take advantage of, you know, some of the COVID stimulus money and hopefully put it to good use. But whatever the reason was, people took advantage of it. And those of you who still haven't took advantage of following what you think is going to be best for you and your family, it's not too late. You know, I like what you said at the beginning when we talked about resolutions also, as you said, you don't wait until the beginning of the year. You know, if you want to put a start time on it that you feel to be numerical, maybe it's Monday instead of tonight, Sunday, you know, but anything past,
Mm-hmm.
you know, either Monday, if you want to have a 30-day consistently, we act like the first has to be the first day. We can count 30 days from the 10th to 30 days from now and know that date. We don't have to keep putting these
Mm-hmm.
excuses in place to not get started. When I was an outside salesperson, one of the things I learned so fast, and it was so true, They said the hardest part about being an outside salesperson, meaning I would go outside. Some cases I would park at the end of a block and I would canvas a block and then literally go door to door selling whatever product or service that I was selling at that time. And the toughest part of that job, people's like, what is it? Is it the people, the people at the door, are you getting doors slammed in your face? People, being rude and flat out just people don't like hearing no. People's like, I'm sure that's the toughest part of them. I said, no, you know what the toughest part is? Getting out of the car and getting started. And people's like, wow, because until you do that, everything is gonna be excuses. Well, it was, I live here in Michigan most of this time too. Well, it would be cold or it was raining or this block don't look like it's gonna do well. Well, you already did the research. This is the area you're supposed to be in. Whatever the reason, the biggest challenge was just getting out of the car and getting started. And it's the same thing with a resolution, getting started. Stop making excuses. If you fell off already this year, like I said, you're just human, but you are better than what you are accepting right now. You want to be hard on yourself about something, be hard on your desire to put yourself in a better situation in your life and the things that you can control realistically. And that's
And I'm gonna throw this out there too. For everybody that started a business or is going to start a business, you will benefit tremendously at the end of the year when you file your taxes because those business expenses will initially when you start that business, those expenses you can write off and that'll reduce your taxable income. And it's just better to have a business. It's kind of designed for you to have a business than to just be a regular taxpayer because you're kind of eating a lot of taxes if you don't have a business. So it's beneficial on that end too.
Great point. Great point. So, wanted to start off the year talking about resolutions. And as I said to start, it's the 10th of January. And if you guys didn't think we was going to talk about what we witnessed this past Wednesday, you got to be kidding yourselves. So, and if you're not sure what I'm talking about, on Wednesday we had, I'll say, I'll be careful with my verbiage on what I feel like these people that were out there doing what they did because I won't call them protesters. But these individuals who partook in what they assumed or their goal was to overtake the Capitol and I guess make the Senate and the House fall in place with their views on where they feel the country should go next. And I'm not the youngest guy. I'm probably not the oldest either. But in my time, I've never in my life seen such a thing. I've read about it as a kid in books back in the 1800s. But in the United States, we actually had a group of, I'll call them terrorists because they were angry. They were looking to damage and destroy property. Obviously, they didn't care about lives. We had an individual that was, multiple individuals that were killed. I just wanted to get your take on what you think about it and give our listeners a chance to chime in as well on the events that happened in the Capitol this past Wednesday.
My initial impression was, why were they not prepared? That was the first thing that kind of crossed my mind, knowing that they were counting electoral, they were certifying the electoral college vote. Why were they not prepared?
Anybody not understand what you're saying? Because to back up, the current president, number 45, talked about people coming to Washington from all over the country to protest this event on the 6th of January.
Right. So we know it wasn't unknown that they were coming. We know that most of the protests we've saw, they carry weapons at these protests. We've saw that. We saw them protesting in Michigan. We saw them overtake the Capitol here. So was that a trial run or was that an isolated incident? That's something to think about.
Great point.
And just the lack of preparedness that I saw was probably the most disturbing thing for me. And knowing that initially seeing it, why were they so understaffed? Like, why were the Capitol Police not prepared? Why was Homeland Security not there? Like, why was DC Pro not there in numbers to make sure that this, like, they didn't present an opportunity for people to even do this? So being unprepared presented the opportunity for this to happen. Now, obviously, we saw just tremendous differences in the way that Black people were treated, and these particular people were treated at their incident this week. Earlier, we saw the National Guard. We saw, just hundreds and hundreds of, or probably thousands of law enforcement out making sure that nothing happened. And this time, there was nobody really there. And then I saw some officers participating in the incident, like helping people through the barricades, taking pictures with people, just doing things that they had no business doing, things that I think they should be fired over. There were people running away from posts, just things that you never, ever would think that you would see. So that probably for me was probably the most disturbing piece of it, was the law enforcement participation and the lack of preparedness that took place. And then just the overall lack of seriousness that took place from the Republican Party and people who support Trump, just how it was just so lackadaisical about what had happened. Like, these people tried to storm the Capitol. They were talking about hanging the vice president. They wanted to kidnap members of Congress, and people just shrugged it off like it was nothing. They talked about how great these people were, how they were just protesters that were upset, and it was just a bunch of bullshit, in my opinion.
Right.
Of the way that it was handled, the response after the fact, how people kind of judged it. It was just complete bullshit to me, and like they're trying to sweep it under the rug as if it was nothing. When an officer was beat to death essentially in the building, and nobody's really saying anything. And then I saw people trying to defend the lady who was trying to jump the window where they had the Congress people on the floor, saying that officer didn't seem like he was in danger and he shouldn't have fired that shot. Well, your ass shouldn't have been trying to jump through that window, because that's obviously the point of no return when you getting into where the elected officials are, and they were clearly not playing. I mean, we saw people get shot for less and no pushback on tape. So now all of a sudden you got people trying to give pushback, and it's just not going to be tolerated. I saw people trying to make neutral posts and who have egged on the president and followed all of the nonsense that he's been saying and agreeing with what he's been saying, and putting that fuel on the fire. They fanning the flames of this fire nonstop. And then when the shit catch on fire, they want to act like they wasn't at the scene. Well, we saw you the whole time fanning the flame. We saw you. We saw you contributing, to the nonsense. And well, nobody's going to slide for that. Everybody need to be held accountable, in my opinion.
Do you think the president should be
held accountable for his act? Absolutely. Absolutely. Will he? That remains to be seen. I don't know. We don't know if he'll quit. We don't know if somebody will try to pardon him. You don't know if Joe Biden will pardon him. There could be, they may not want to set a precedent where presidents are to prison. But I think he will be charged with some things. There's too much. It's just too much legal exposure that he got. He's going to be charged with something. Will he be convicted and sent to prison over it, that remains to be seen.
So very interesting times, and again, I'll say just looking at that and coming through the historical pandemic that we're still enduring, to have that, all of the things that went on this past summer with the Black Lives Matter, uh, protests, to see the difference in the way things were handled. I don't even have to go into details. People are tired of, they say they tired of hearing us talking about if it would have been the other way around. We already know that we are not equal here. And shame on anybody at this point who, whether you believe one side or the other, because I look at Fox 2 News and I look at CNN and I look at the difference in what they report and the perspective they have on these topics, and it's totally opposite, and that's fine. But you cannot tell me on either one of those sides, if you had to question that these people who were involved in what went in on Wednesday were treated differently than other people in this country under similar circumstances, because they want to go to the people on the opposing side, want to say, well, it was a lot of violence that was going on and they were looting and they were rioting. Well, I don't know anything worse than storming the Capitol of the United States of America. When it comes to protest, peaceful protest, that was not. But just the know that even over and beyond that, we've seen time and time again with the way these police situations are handled, that we are not equal in this country. And this is what has to change. We can't continue to keep talking about it needs to be changed. It's the people who say, I'm not prejudiced. I have Black friends. I don't want to hear that right now. I want you to stand up, and shame on you the same way anybody who supported the current president and his rhetoric for these last 4 years, and now they're saying things like, well, he's off his rocket. No, he is who he has been. As Denny Green said back in the day, the football coach of the Vikings and Arizona Cardinals, they are what we thought they were. And the people who now with the egg on their face, we got Republican members of the Republican Party, the presidential party, that are resigning. Whoops, be fucking do. For those of you don't understand what that word means, it means really who gives a flying shit. At this point, I can't believe that people's eyes aren't open to what is going on in this country, and it has to change. This country, in order for us to continue to be the land of the free and be this great place to live and come and be prosperous, has to change. We can't continue to live the way we lived all these years. You see it. We talked about social media at the start of this and talked about how we feel like these platforms, people can use them for whatever they want. Bottom line, you're seeing it. You're seeing what's happening on the day to day. You're seeing it on the news. You're seeing it on these social media sites where there is so much of a disparity. And if this doesn't open your eyes at this point, shame on you. Things in this country have to change.
Think about this. That wasn't a Target they were stealing toilet paper out of. That was the U.S. Capitol. It's not the same thing.
And we're talking about threatening government officials. Those is what we like to say in the hood. Those is Fed cases, and they have a very, very high conviction rate. So I expect that they, it was funny because the FBI was like, hey, if you have any information about these individuals, I think they had about 20 guys on there and maybe a few women, and held a Breakfast Club radio station out of New York with Charlamagne the God and DJ Envy. And this a chick on there, Angela or something. But anyway, they found about 6 of those people in less than 5 hours, knew where they were from and everything. And the FBI talking about if you can help us find them, which I'm sure the FBI know how to get them. I'm not questioning that part of our society. I'm really just questioning and I'm challenging people to look at these things. And now you see, that was so blatant on Wednesday what was going on. And the reason that was able to happen is because for hundreds of years, things have not been fair in this country. And back about a good 50, maybe 60 years ago, we claimed that it was going to be equal for everybody. And yet we still don't see it. You know, the things that were promised to us are still aren't in place. You know, the disparity between us financially and others is still not in
Mm-hmm.
place. And for anybody to say that we got a fair shake in this, um, you can see as what happened on Wednesday. We do not have a fair shake in this country on the way things are being done. So it's time for change, and it needs to happen sooner
Mm-hmm.
than later.
We'll see, man. We'll see how serious they take it. And obviously, it wasn't taken as serious because they let them in. You know,
Well,
they went through the door, you know,
when I say the
got
sea
through
change,
you know, they let them through the barricades and all that. So we'll see.
when I talk about the change, you know, even with our current or the incoming president, Biden and Harris, you know, the expectation is you guys gonna have to start making some changes immediately. Or we gonna be in y'all shit too and moving forward with
Mm-hmm.
whoever else. And then like we always talk about at the local levels, it need to change. But the government most definitely need to step in and make some changes ASAP on the way things are for us in this country. You know, because we just seen the country pull trillions of dollars out of their ass during this pandemic. And I'm not saying that it was wrong for them to do it, but we know this country has the ability to right wrongs expeditiously,
Mm-hmm.
as Ti would say. We know
Yeah.
that this country can move very fast on changing whatever needs to be changed. You know, Biden talking about taking you know, money off of people's student loans. We know that these things can be done immediately to make things change in our society, and we need to really push these people moving forward for those changes. And within it, obviously, we need to do our part. But in order for us to do our part, people have to understand the overall scheme of things have to change. We can't expect people in the neighborhoods, and I'll use the city of Detroit as an example, and I say it all the time. We can't expect them to put the drinks down and all of a sudden be the solution, or be able to even be in a place to take on the solution that I'm looking for. You know, there's a whole bunch of things that need to change there. We need to make our citizens feel proud to be citizens. We need to take care of our homeless and mentally disabled individuals in society, and fix these things first so that we can get
Mm-hmm.
the neighborhoods and the communities to a better place. But we have to feel like the government is treating us equal. And for a long time, we haven't felt that way. And today, as of this past Wednesday, it was just blatant that it's not the same. And any and everybody saw that. And it needs to change going forward. You know, Karen, look out. You are not in charge of the United States. Stop it. You're not. You're not better than anybody else. And I say in the post, it's not that we want violence on them. We just want you to stop being so violent to us so we can get along out here.
Right.
Y'all are just as fucking violent. Don't get it twisted. Cause what I seen on Wednesday, whoo, that was pretty rough. And then just the way those individuals weren't scared of the authorities. Oh
No, they was
man.
put dude trying to snatch my man gas mask off his face. I
Oh,
mean, just roughhousing the police. You know, like they was just taking ass whoopings at the Capitol, but you know they gun us down
not a lot
for a
matter, but it's
bag of
funny.
Skittles, or you
Right.
know they shoot us in the back because we running away, or you know you get choked out because you selling loose cigarettes,
Exactly.
or you get shot up because you're reaching for your wallet. You know what I'm saying? But at the
Right.
Capitol, there was no shooting except the one lady by the Secret Service. But other than that, no, they was putting hands on the police,
Right. Yeah,
and
it
no
was real
nobody got
disturbing
shot.
seeing that guy running up the stairs from those or I keep wanting to mistakenly call them protesters. The ones who were inside of the Capitol building, those fucking terrorists. I'm sorry, I don't have no other way to say it. Excuse my language, but they were terrorists. You were trying to overtake
Yeah,
our government.
it's different, and you know they just been real quiet, or they've been trying, you know, just compare it to, you know, riots that's happened over the summer, or you know incidents that happened over the summer. We saw
Yeah,
the
they talk
dude in
about police
Minnesota.
stations getting burned down. The same
Yeah,
people who are choking people out on video, so it's not the same. Yes, you're
yeah,
gonna
not
go after
the
the
same.
person who we know needs to be, and I don't know if defunding is the right word for it. That seems to really rub people the wrong way. But the way that they operate needs to change,
Let me
basically.
say this. Let me say this so that we don't want to make a mistake here. Um, Defunding the police ain't really about taking money away from police departments. It's about providing resources so officers not doing shit that they don't want to do in the first place. For instance, they don't want to handle the mental cases where you got to go and put people into the hospital and do, you know, the transports and all that shit. Like, you put a fund together so somebody who know about mental illness is in the room with that person, so that we not roughhousing with them as police officers, because police want to, they're going to take you by force. You know, if you got a mental health problem, there could be a way where you can handle that person, and it may not have to be with violence if you understand the mental illness that they have. Maybe there's somebody that knows enough about mental illness where they can talk that person down and get them to come peacefully, instead of a
Like
police
hostage
officer walking in
negotiations.
there. Yeah, instead of a police officer walking in there and going, you know, you going to the hospital, and then next thing you know, you're rolling around on the floor and it's getting, you know, it's pepper in your face. You know, instead of having that happen, put professionals in place to get people to do things that officers necessarily, that they already don't want to do, that they already complain about doing, which is one of those things is dealing with the mental health community.
They are responsible for traffic stops and not shooting the individual.
Yeah, yeah, you don't need to be shooting people in traffic either.
Yeah.
That's never good. Um,
To your point,
you know,
good
unless
point.
somebody was doing something where, they presented a
There's
threat, but
nothing
half
wrong
the
with
time,
they can
or
say,
most of the
I'm
things
scared
we
for my
see, we
life.
don't see these threats. So that's where the issue is. A lot of these incidents that's causing people to uprise and get in the street and protest is because officers are overreacting with fatal force against situations that they probably could have talked their way through.
Exactly.
You know, and everybody's mad about, the lady getting shot at the Capitol. Well, it's unfortunate that she died that day, and I'm not going to badmouth the lady.
Did she have
She
a
lost her life, but um, we saw other people lose their lives in their houses, unarmed, at home.
right?
We saw Bobby Jean get shot in his underwear eating ice cream watching a football game at home. And we talked about how he had weed in his system and how bad he was, or what he had done in his previous days. You know, Breonna Taylor shot in her house. They say she had an active case, but it's a whole bunch of negatives that come with that, where it was just bullets flying through the house, and they didn't get in trouble for her, but in trouble for missing.
Right. And even with the
Or
gentleman
the other young
in
lady that was
Milwaukee,
in her house that was
talking things
killed.
like that.
So, it's just different. So we understand that it's different, but it's definitely not the same. And that's bullshit for anybody that's posting that, thinking or trying to compare the two. They're not comparable. It's not the same.
Yeah, because I've seen a few debates, even today, even where they had individuals that were trying to argue what did Trump truly say. I don't even like saying his name. 45. What did he truly say that incited this? What specifically? And I'm like, okay, so y'all trying to split hairs now when y'all have tried to cover this man's mouth on who knows how many occasions. And even when you take and put people, put them in the spotlight and and question them when you find out what they said was to be wrong. You know, when we look at all of the Republicans who said the Democrats and people who cried about 45 getting in the office need to learn that the process is the process and you have to accept it. But when they didn't get their way, they threw a tantrum on the exact same topic. It's just that's what's crazy to me is you take fast or rewind 4 years back, and when number 45 got in office, these news reporters and different analysts and whatnot were saying, hey, you know, you lost, deal with it. The process works. All of these things that they said were fine. Even, you know, in Georgia, where people were complaining that the election was rigged, of like the election, but you won your seat off of that same ballot that the president supposedly got, you know, unfairly treated, and the election was taken for him. So they only was cheating on part of the ballots. Because how can you any Republican can comfortably sit in their seats that they were elected to through this last election? How can they feel comfortable being in them, and then out of the other side of their mouth say that they took the election away from the president? Do they take those ballots and cut them up into pieces? Do they separate them out by section?
Nah, not
That's
at
a
all.
question. I'm serious. I was hoping maybe you could answer because I thought they just tallied the information just on the one sheet. My point being, how could it be?
That's how it works.
You know,
So
that's just. I'm not a politician, so I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. But to me, I have to ask that question. That's just. I'm a basic guy. Any Republican.
Here's the funny thing. There's actual election interference in 2016 that we actually know about. That's actually documented, where people were actually indicted over. In 2016, where he won, there was actually a reason to cry that the election was stolen. That's not the case this time. And that's what we saw, people come out and vote, and you know, they know that if we vote, they just don't win. And that's just how it works. And we saw them, cheat their way into taking Stacey Abrams' seat for being a potential governor of Georgia. And instead of her whining and crying about it, she mobilized the people and she got everybody out to vote. And she wanted to kill that voter suppression, which they've been calling voter fraud in a lot of cases, is matching signatures. Now, I ask everybody that's watching us right now, how many times have you signed your name on an electronic screen and it looked the same way you write it on paper?
Right. I just said
that's what they call an election fraud. Because when you sign your name at the Secretary of State on the screen, it doesn't look the same way you write it on paper. And that's what they're calling matching signatures as election fraud.
Oh, we know it's reaching, but that's a great point that you bring that up. Again, just to be real basic with it, the same ballot that some of the Republicans, and I don't even like to make it a Republican, but it is what it is. You got Republicans, you got Democrats, and I'm just when I see people contradict themselves, it doesn't matter which side you're on, and you can't explain and justify it. We fast forward 4 years back, and we say, hey, this is what you, Mr. Reporter, or this is what you, Mr. Governor, or this is what you said that this party needs to do when this happens. And that exact same thing happened 4 years later, and you cry foul and you forget about what you said and did just 4 years ago. I'm like, man, this is just, that's the frustrating part of it for me, is that these politicians and even some of the people in the media say things, and people have these platforms, and it's a real quick example I like to think about. Van Gundy used to be the coach of the New York Knicks. He's now a sports analyst for one of the channels. And during a game, he made a comment that when a basketball player protests a foul or any type of thing that's whistled against them and they argue it, when we look at the tape and find that they were wrong in their arguing and disrupting of the game, that they should be fined. And it was funny because any sports fan, or especially any basketball fan, know that basketball players have never fouled an opposing team player uh, during a game. You know,
Right.
there's probably only two fouls that really happen during a basketball game. All of the other ones are contested. Like, I didn't foul him, even though he's bleeding and some of his skin is under my nail. I didn't foul him. You know, so
Right.
I just think that when these things that and I like how cute that one of the guys said, "Well, I misspoke back then." Like, that's an excuse now. You misspoke. No, you lied.
Right.
For any of you fellas and women out there that's caught up in any kind of drama with your significant other, you can use that. I misspoke. I'm kidding, folks. Don't try that. It's cold out here tonight. Don't want anybody sleeping in their car or in the garage listening to me. Anybody know me know I like to joke every now and then, so don't listen to me on that. But on a serious note, as we get ready to wrap up here, we appreciate everybody staying with us. Um, I got a question for you. We talked about
Mm-hmm.
the resolutions and what happened this past week, and we talked about social media. I seen something that you personally posted on social media, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to misquote you, but I'll try to refresh your memory if you can. You made a post, and I thought it was really interesting because for me, it says so many things. And it was a real basic post. You said something along the lines that 2020 really showed me who people are, or something. If you remember that and could recall what you posted and talk about that a little bit, because I thought it was really interesting because it was one of those things to kind of make your eyebrows raise.
Okay. Let me see. It just said everybody showed their true colors this year. I needed that.
Okay.
And people did show their true colors. Like
Well, break that down
you
because
know,
immediately I wanted to look at it, not me, but I looked at it as the general social media viewer, and we
mm,
tend to see things on social media and we immediately go to what they like to call shade. So I want to give you an opportunity to
mhm.
break down what that meant to you because I'm pretty sure knowing you as long as I have, it's a deeper meaning to it than just
um
people shitted on you or something this past year.
I just think that people were kind of frustrated last year, right? Like we went through a lot. Like people couldn't see
Absolutely.
family. Um, People were stuck in a house. People, or there was no get-togethers. There's that physical contact was missing, and in isolation, a lot of us got wrapped up in social media where we were kind of seeing what was going on around the world, like everybody was engaged because there's no life to be had, right? So everybody was engaged and everybody was kind of um, just saying exactly how they felt and expressing exactly how they felt, not just on social media, but just in general. Like you saw people taking positions and taking stances and letting you know what their true character was. And I just was appreciative of that. Whether it was somebody supporting the president or supporting something I just completely disagree with, or maybe they was borderline on racism to me and I didn't know that about them, or maybe it was somebody kind of showing me some support or calling and checking on me and letting and seeing how I was doing, especially if I was in my emotions and I was going through something and somebody just kind of reached out to see how I was doing. All of those things I think were important as we went through the year and just was kind of looking out for each other, but also just kind of seeing where people stand and where they coming from, because I think by people having like no time to do nothing else, you just kind of got what it is. Like there was no filter. on people, and
Exactly.
that was something that I needed a lot. So that was just beneficial to me, just to see people in be in a comfortable space, as if talking as if the world couldn't see what you were saying.
Right. And like I said, I saw that post, it really stuck out to me. And I'll tell you, and thank you for that. That's exactly what I was trying to get to. And for me, when I looked at the post, like I said, I kind of stepped back a little bit and was like, wow, that's a deep statement, because I really do think that a lot of people showed us things about them, unfortunately, in a negative light when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to the views they have. And I'm gonna just be bluntly, people showed me that they don't give a damn about me as a black man in this country, uh, indirectly. You know, I can't sit up here
Mm-hmm.
and say I can't stand short, light skinned women, and then look at a short, light skinned woman that's close and dear to my heart and say, oh, well, I ain't talking about you. I'm just talking
Mm-hmm.
about all of the other ones. You know, and that's just
Right.
an example. I'm not talking about short, light skinned women. Don't come for me out there. But the flip side of it was, for me personally, is the people close to me who really reached out. And you said the same thing. So I'm just, you know, mirroring what you said for me. And that was an eye opener. The people who were supportive of me, whether it was, you know, just a text message, you know, and or
Mm-hmm.
it was, you know, people dropping off food to me, or anything that people did for me. And
Mm-hmm.
I consider myself to be somebody who, you know, anybody know me, that I'm usually pretty self-sufficient. You know, I stay in my lane. I do me. I'm a upbeat, you know, guy that, you know, the world is my oyster. You know, I'm just usually out there living and enjoying myself. And this year was really hard for me. The last, you know, 8 to 9 months of the pandemic, it was hard for me, like it was for many people. You know, I went from being in the industry where, you know, financially, you know, I took a huge pay cut. And I'm not saying that to
Mm-hmm.
complain, because I'm very thankful to have my health, to be here talking to you folks to eat this evening. But within that, I also learned something about myself. And, you know, we all need money to survive and take care of things and fulfill our wants as well as our needs. Most definitely want to be able to take care of your needs. But you also, like I talked about earlier, you want to be somewhat happy realistically with what it is you're
Mm-hmm.
doing. And, you know, I'm fortunate enough to be, you know, back working now. And I'm doing something where I'm actually okay at work. Aside from, you know, I would love to be making the financial money I was making doing other stuff that I wasn't really happy at. So for me, you know, that was learning something about myself, you know, during the pandemic, when we talk about learning about other people, but also learn about myself. And, you know, the flip side to that, what I'll tell you, you know, when we talk about resolutions, because, you know, you kind of touched on yours and I didn't really get into mine as we wrapping up. For me, you know, the resolution was to, you know, kind of what I'm talking about, to find something to do that um, I can feel respectful, or I feel respectful doing what I do, I should say, as well as, you know, I don't dread going to work, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and not because, you know, I just love the job. It just opened my eyes that there's other things I can do out there to free up my mind mentally, my mental stability, because there's other ways that I can financially take care of things. And, you know, we'll talk about those in some other podcast, as we have some exciting things on the horizon for people who follow us, that we'll
Mm-hmm.
be doing in 2021, and bringing light to some things, to put people in a different mindset from what you've been in before when it comes to how do you get ahead financially, or what is your plan to get ahead? Back to those whys. But yeah, that was it for me, man. That was really my resolution is to, not beat myself up and say, man, financially I don't get this from that. I'm gonna get those finances in other ways, but it's not gonna be through doing that. And just really, because
Right.
when I went into the industry that I went into, looking for work, having a plan, and I'm not gonna get into the details of that for time purposes, but I had people that would say, well, no, you don't want to do that. Trust me, you don't want to do that. And when I would inquire, people would say things like, it's not for you. And I'm thinking to myself in the back of my mind, well, how the heck you know what's for me? And then what it was, and what it typically is, and this is generally for everybody when they want to make decisions in life and they get feedback from people, it's what they thought was best for me. It's
Right.
because they thought they knew how much money I needed to get from when I go over here and do this. And I will tell you that,
Limitations come. Yeah.
right, it's not about that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being many years ago as a young man in the work industry. I worked at Home Depot, many people know. And when I started there, I was what they called a lot engineer. When I got that job, I went home and I called my mom because I was living down south. I say, I'm an engineer at this company called Home Depot. She said, what do they do? I said, I think they make mobile homes, because I hadn't seen so many mobile homes in my life until I moved to the Carolinas down south. So I was like, Home Depot, they must make these bad boys. And I'm going to be an engineer, so the money should be flowing in. She said, well, how much they paying you an hour? I said, well, they paying me about $6.25. And man, minimum wage only $1.25 more today. Talk about some BS in this country. But when I told her I was making $6.25, she said, son,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, you ain't no engineer. Let's just get that out the way. If they only paying you $6. But I laugh when I think back to that, because obviously people know what Home Depot is now today. It's a home improvement store. And that lot engineer was really just a lot uh, a lot boy, as we like to call it. I was responsible for getting the
Right.
lots from out of the parking lot. I was responsible for helping customers load up their merchandise. And I think back to those,
Mm-hmm.
many people know I had a great career with that company. I went on to become a general manager of, multiple stores, worked for the company in different states, Michigan, Ohio, as well as North and South Carolina. So did a lot with the company.
Mm-hmm.
But to start out as that lot engineer, as I like to say, I look back on my
Mm-hmm.
time there, and those were some of the most entertaining and fun days when I was carefree out there doing that. It was hot, and I had my complaints about that. But when I went home at the end of the day, I wasn't stressing out. And we get it. If you want to be successful in life, it's going to be stress. I'm not trying to send that message out to people that, it's going to be easy in life. It's not. But if what you're trying to do, if you are stressing out about making somebody else profitable, i.e., the company you work for, if you stressed out about keeping them afloat and doing them a favor, you need to really question, is that what you want to gain the Oscar over? If you're gonna have stomach problems from stressing about something, let it be you becoming a millionaire with your own business.
Mm-hmm.
You putting your family and friends into a financial situation where they'll be better off than what you were at their age. So I say all that to say, man, it's so important that we find something that we can tolerate, and then have a game plan to get to something you can enjoy. But to do something that you don't like, it's 2021 January, we're talking about resolutions, to continue doing something that you dislike and justifying it because that's how you put food on the table. Just look at that, and really think about it. If you're a praying person, if you believe in the higher power, is that really what you're supposed to be doing? Are you supposed to be getting up every day unhappy, driving to someplace unhappy, being there unhappy, and then coming home? And never mind the physical and mental aspects, like I said. That's not what you're supposed to be doing, folks. So again, those whys that we
Hey,
talked about at the beginning, start asking yourself those.
yeah. You know, they say most heart attacks take place Monday morning before people go to work.
Dude, when I was a lot engineer on Monday, Sunday night, I slept like a baby. Monday morning, I might overslept. Man, when I became a
Mm-hmm.
general manager, first of all, I had to be to work Monday mornings, typically 4:35 a.m. I would lay in
Mm-hmm.
the bed looking at the ceiling, stressing out. I mean, man, I hated Mondays. I hated it. I didn't like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday all that much either. But Monday, man, you hit the nail right on the head. So with it being Sunday night, if I mean, and I know for a lot of people right now, they hopefully they have a better perspective on life. But if you dread going to work tomorrow, if you are already restless about not getting some sleep tonight because of what you got to do tomorrow, if it ain't for your own personal company, start asking yourself some whys. And within there, throw some
Mm-hmm.
hows in there. Why am I doing this? How can I change it? Because we're not saying, I'm not telling anybody to go in tomorrow and quit your job. So listen to me in that aspect. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it's never too late for you to change and do something that you might enjoy a little bit better. That's we when we talk about today's podcast, Soapbox Sunday, it is Resolution Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so we might rename this podcast and call it exactly that.
Right. So for me, I like Facebook because they give you memories, right?
Oh
Of
man,
what you
ain't
was
that
doing
great?
the year prior. So I kind of lay my thoughts out every year on Facebook, like for everybody to see. For whatever, I don't even know why I do it. It's just a habit that I have,
Okay.
and have the ability to go back and look at what I was doing December 31st or January 1st, and what my ideas, thoughts, and plans would be for the following year.
Okay.
And I you know, I I was kind of on the fence this year, just of how I felt, but I think my overall theme was just for everybody just to stay focused. Come up with a plan, encourage you to write that plan down and your whys and everything, and to figure out what you want to do. And when you figuring that out, dream big. Don't put any limitations on yourself, because I heard somebody say, which was Mark Monroe, your dreams don't scare you, then you're not dreaming big enough. So dream big and think about what it is you want to do, what it is you want to accomplish, and write it down. And then get those details into why you want to do or achieve those particular goals, and then just stay focused. I think that's the biggest thing I think for the year. To kind of just stay on track, stay focused, and don't get distracted. People are doing in the world or on social media, that's side of your influence that you can personally make changes on. I think just if you got financial goals, that's fine. You got weight loss goals, that's great. Business goals, that's great. Whatever it is you want to do, just kind of focus on that and get you a plan together. And the most important thing you can do is execute. Set aside a couple hours a day to work on you, if that's how much time you have. If you need to come home and do it, you need to do it before bed, or if you need to get up an extra hour earlier, do that. Get up and dedicate some time to yourself. I think that's probably the most healthy thing that we can do, and the most productive thing that we can do in order to see results. And also, before you go to bed, or before when you get up in the morning, whatever your preference is, or both, take 15, 20, 30 minutes of meditation, silence. Enter the day with no expectations. Enter the day with no judgment. Enter the day empty. And then that way things come, you handle them as they come, but keep a positive attitude about the day and about yourself and about life in
Absolutely.
general. I think that'll take us a long way. I am a student at heart. Anybody that know me know that I am right now, I'm a finance student. That's what I do. I study business and I study finance, and I spend a tremendous amount of time doing that in my free time. So become a student of what it is that you love or what it is that you're passionate about. Learn about it, spend time about it, read about it, because the more information you know, the better you'll be at executing and getting your dreams together. My that's my word for everybody today would just be to stay focused, uh, dedicate time for yourself, and execute.
That's great, man. That really hits the nail right on the head for me. When you were talking, it was so many examples that you were using that, you know, some I've already incorporated myself, but some I most definitely, you know, will start as early as tomorrow. You know, just that, you know, I have a routine of getting up in the morning, and you know, I like to get, the morning news, know what my traffic gonna look like before I head out, know what kind of weather, so I know how to dress. So you know, that's part of my planning in my day. But you know, taking and setting aside that 15 minutes of
Mm-hmm.
just quiet, so you don't go into the day with any expectations. That's a great one. You know, if people can, you know, do that, and if you don't understand and know how to meditate, you know, utilize these smart devices that you're on right now, listening to us, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, do a little bit of quick research on that, how to meditate. I'm sure there's a few apps that'll help you out, but there's most definitely information on there to help you understand how to quiet that noise for a moment, and it'll be really beneficial. You know, it'll help you in so many things in life. I think not just you know, we get so focused on. I think we get focused on the finance part of it, and people say, well, you know, we got to keep
Mm-hmm.
roofs over our head. Absolutely, and I never would tell you don't. You know, and if you want the nicest roof you can get over your head, get it, because you know what I consider to be nice, somebody else may think is great, and vice versa. So I'm not saying that at all, but just really
Mm-hmm.
taking advantage of, you know, some of those things for, you know, and not letting the finance, because when you say you want to be rich, for example, and you put that same
Mm-hmm.
apply those same rules, why? Why do you want to be rich? You know, and you ask yourself that, because I want to have a car. But what kind of car you want? And, well, I want this one, this one. So, okay, so after you do that, what do you want to do? You know, you keep saying why. You know, there has to be a bigger meaning to it. You know, because when I
It
was a
is.
kid, I wanted to be grown, and now I ask myself why all the time. Like, Mom, can I come move back in? I'm gonna wash the dishes. I'm gonna put some groceries in the refrigerator. I'm cut the grass without nobody asking.
Right.
I just don't want all these bills. Yeah, I say that
Right.
jokingly. Being an adult is a great thing. It can be, you know, whatever it is you choose to do in life. We want to help you try to be the best at it. And for those of you that don't know what it is you want to do, ain't nothing wrong with that. Continue listening to stuff like this. Start listening to other podcasts. Start looking at other careers. A trick I used to do is I used to would go on to some of those job sites, and I would just look at some of the key categories. You know, when I found a category that I might feel like I'm totally not qualified for, but then I'll go and look at the job description and look at what's entailed in the job. And then, you know, part of that is me knowing how to read through a little fancy BS. But then I say, man, that sounds
Mm-hmm.
like something I'd be interested in. I don't have this, or that. I don't have the degree I need for it, but that's an example where you could go and say, well, you know, this is something I like. It's just never too late. And if you want to go to school for that, you can, or whatever it is. You know, you might really like being a chauffeur for a limo company. I don't know what it is, because you party and you take people to different celebrations or whatnot. And you know, you're always dealing with people who having a good time. You know, you might like that, whatever it is. I don't know. You know, there's a company to drive through my subdivision. I see them a few times out of the week. It's a company that has secured people contracts to come in their yard and clean up their dog poop for them a couple of times a week.
Mm-hmm.
You like, man, now damn it, why didn't I think of that? Because who want to clean up dog poop? You got a
Yeah.
company like, hey, we'll come and clean it up for you. So it's,
Mm-hmm.
every day I'll see something to make me go, now why didn't I think of that? So there's no excuse for you to not find something that you can be passionate about. And we only talking to the people who, again, aren't where they feel they need to be. If you happy where you at, if you happy where you live, and you happy with your environment that you in, you happy with the school system that's available to you, your children, or the safety, all those things, whatever it may be. If you're good with it, then help somebody that you know that's not. Try to help them get to where they need to, because we're not trying to make everybody millionaires. That's not the goal. We're trying to have people at a better mindset because, like we said, this past 8 months, now, shoot, we talking, hell, it's 10 months almost now that this
Mm-hmm.
jumped 9.5, 10 months almost. If you found out during that time that you weren't happy with the way things were, continue more forward to changing it. That's all we're trying to accomplish today, I think. But some great topics, man. If we could one more time before we get
Right.
out of here, uh, we're Athena Protection. Something we do this time of year is people doing resolutions with our security services. We also offer CPL classes. That's concealed pistol license here in the state of Michigan. If you want to be able to carry your weapon on your person when you're out and about, you need a license to do that in the state of Michigan. And don't confuse that with the open carry law. That means you can carry a weapon on your person. We're talking about being able to conceal that weapon. If you want to put a jacket on over it, if you want to have your weapon on your hip and be able to get into your vehicle, you need to have a concealed pistol license for that. And we offer those services, and you can go to our website at Athena Protections and get that information. But just wanted to share that because I know this time of year people are thinking about, um,
Mm-hmm.
being safer, want to be in a better situation. Or it might just be something as simple as you've been thinking about it all year and it's income tax time. Maybe you're going to get your little, not love, I want to call it little because I'm waiting on it too, y'all. That $600 stimulus check that some people have gotten. I know a couple of relatives been on social media got me crying, laughing, talking about
Mm-hmm.
that check when it's gonna come. I'm waiting on it too. I ain't gonna front, but yeah.
Yeah.
So those whatever reason, we make that available to you as those CPO classes. We're doing them now on Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. We talked about it. We're gonna be changing some of the things and how we do it, but we are still offering that service to people. If you forgot, if you have friends and family, reach out to Dan and myself personally for more details. But as I said, Dan, let our listeners one last time know how they can get in touch with us.
You can get in touch with us on any social media platform at Athena Protection Service, or you give us a call at 800-951-4866. It's 1-800-951-4866.
Awesome. Well, I know I don't have any other topics, man. I'm just so excited to be back out here for the listeners. We look
Mm-hmm.
forward to trying to get on here every Sunday. I can't guarantee you Super Bowl Sunday I'm gonna be on here. It kind of depends on who in the Super Bowl. I don't know if y'all can see it, but I got my Steelers gear on. The Steelers getting ready to play in about an hour. Keep your fingers crossed and help me root them on, hopefully making it to the next round of the playoffs. I know there's a lot of Detroit fans listening on here, and just want to say I'm sorry that y'all season has been over.
It was over before it started. One thing I'll say to people, just to get in the right state of mind and like what you need to be focused on. Earl Nightingale has a video called "The Strangest Secret." It's 19 minutes long. Um, Watch that. It's very very helpful um, for getting in the right mind state about setting your intentions and setting goals and things like that. The Stranger's Secret by Earl Nightingale.
Right.
You can find it on YouTube.
And I'll just say one last time here: stop taking your talk. I'm sorry. Stop talking yourself out of opportunities because you don't feel like you're ready. You are ready. It's time to move forward and do it. Stop playing these mental games with yourself. It's time to move forward. You know, stop putting a calendar date to it. No, you don't need to wait until February the 1st. You don't even need to wait until an even number on the calendar. If it needs to be first thing in the morning, if that's tomorrow because it's Monday, fine. If it's Tuesday, whatever day, stop dragging your feet, start making those plans and move forward. Stop talking yourself out of opportunities. You got this. That's it, man. Good to see you. Hey, listeners, I'm happy to be back. Thank you for your well wishes, and for those who reached out to me during the holiday season, thank you so much for your thoughts and prayers. I really appreciate it all.
All right. Glad to have you back. We'll see everybody next week. Thank you for listening, and you can catch us next Sunday.
Awesome. Take care, everybody.
All right.
Go Steelers.